As a spiritual being, my core quality, the deepest one in my nature, is nonviolence, peace. I feel most real, most authentic, most true when I am in this state of peace, nonviolence, bringing that nonviolence into my activity, my actions and interactions. This is being truthful. Moving through the world truthfully. Is it possible to remain loyal to this deep, true nature of nonviolence, peace, when I am confronted by peacelessness, when I am challenged, do I put aside my dharma, my true nature? When in conflict, upheaval, chaos, uncertainty, do I become untrue? Perhaps the real indication that I have stabilized in spirituality, that I have understood spirituality, is that I remain loyal to my dharma, that I remain nonviolent, respond peacefully, even in difficult or challenging situations. That nature of nonviolence practiced over a long period of time, honestly, becoming my natural nature. As if I have no other way to respond. Using those moments when I am not challenged or threatened or in conflict, ordinary moments in my day, to build up my power of nonviolence, my stock of peace. So I can move through all situations truthfully, peacefully, responding with nonviolence. This is being firm, loyal, to my Dharma. And this is how I remain at peace with myself. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Good evening. Welcome to Interview with Raj Yogi. And tonight's topic is being firm within with the power of truth. And it was a lovely commentary. We felt it was connected to what often comes up as question from regular students, new students about being firm. And perhaps maybe it's similar in terms of learning to separate certain experiences, maybe perhaps that we've had in the past, feeling that certain things are actually still possible in an independent way. To be firm, sometimes souls feel like, don't you have to be violent about that with yourself? And that's why this element of power, truth, emerged as well. Sometimes for the regular students who hear the study, I think for those who joined for the Raki program with Sister Gita, whether online or on site, she talked about making the power of promise. And I can't remember what was promised, like I will never do this, or I'll never feel this. I wonder if just souls are a little concerned about making promise if they feel they'll be violent with themselves. So I know you were talking about that in the commentary. I was wondering if you can shed some light how that can be, how it can you really be firm? Is it that you don't, that like there needs to be some sort of power there? I wasn't sure if you have some practical experience about that.
Om Shanti. Sorry. I think sometimes we hear the word power and it creates certain ideas in our mind that could be violent. And my my exposure to power through dance was a little bit different. I remember, though, when I was young and our mother had made a personal choice that she would never discipline us by yelling at us or these usual disciplinary techniques I won't go into. I don't actually have a memory of her disciplining me anyways. But what I remember is that I could be aware of when I'd stepped over a line because she would use what I call her pianissimo opera voice. And a pianissimo opera voice, I will not demonstrate it because it would just be painful. No, 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 no.
So I don't even know what pianissimo is.
Pianissimo means very soft. I'm sure you've heard opera singers. It's when they go into a very high note and sing it very softly. And the reason I'm not going to demonstrate, other than it sounds horrible, is it requires incredible power to do that. Now, it's deceptive and control of, in this case, the breath and diaphragm. It's deceptive because it's so soft and gentle that you wouldn't think this is one of the most powerful things you could do in that particular art. So it again touches on our concepts of power. We would think powerful discipline is to yell and shout and all of this. Certainly not pianissimo, but when I heard that pianissimo voice, it was very clear to me in a very gentle way, but very clear that I was going over a line. So similarly in dance, so graceful, so gentle, so delicate, but remarkable power or strength to sustain that. So we even have these quotes about, it takes great strength to be gentle. So it asks us to re-examine our concepts around power and what the use of power is. Is it to control others, or is it to honor my own potential? That's kind of a shift when we talk about, say, promise, when we start to connect it to honoring. Now, when we add in truth, we're starting to talk about the truth about the self. What is that potential? And the truth about the self is that we're not violent. So it would seem odd to be violent in order to reach a non-violent or truthful state. So, but this idea of honoring vision, these very powerful but non-violent qualities in terms of the self, respect, etc. So it really is asking us to explore if we have certain ideas about power and what we think that power is for. Is it to control others? Is it to control situations? I make a promise and I'm in a situation that's perhaps I'm not able to keep the promise in that situation. So then I become disheartened. It would actually take incredible power to have a maternal or non-violent or honorable way of managing myself so I can, again, continue to be loyal to the promise. So it's really asking us to re-examine. Now, this is an organization, the Brahma Kumaris, which puts mothers in front, maternal qualities in the leadership role. So obviously, we're constantly exploring a different concept of power, which is very nurturing, very much about honoring the best, the elevation of the self, the potential of the self. So it requires being, yes, disciplined and firm and clear and stable, but in a very maternal or non-violent container. That's a real switch for us, but it's possible if I manage to get lesson one right. So then we're starting to talk about balance, that I want to be firm, but I don't want to be violent. Balance is very natural when I'm soul conscious.
So perhaps it's connected is, and I don't mean it again in an intellectual way when you're talking about it's being natural, there's detachment have a lot to do with it in terms of you were saying some sort of during the commentary about there could be some sort of opposing force of some sort. With a body conscious habit would be to push back. But when there is that detachment, if it is really the real thing, is that where there isn't that feeling of having to push back, or we often use that word again. I've seen it used a lot, I suppose, maybe in mental health, a lot in healthcare, actually. Boundaries, creating boundaries. And and oftentimes it's used, it's always about being firm, laying down the law. So if you feel that, and if, yeah, I don't know what your feelings, if detachment has a lot to do with that. And if it is, if you could share more about what that feels like.
Yeah, detachment is another word that for some can seem violent, actually. So we're again talking about rewriting our dictionary through being in a different awareness. Detachment is probably one of the greatest powers. When we are not powerful, we attach very quickly. So the example we often give is an incident happened in the past and I'm so attached, I cannot stop thinking about it. People say, let it go. I can't. I just don't have the power to let it go. So I connect detachment actually with truth or understanding. And that makes it less, it makes it completely nonviolent. So if I am upset, this, let's say, just as an example, I'm upset with Nora. Yet again, she left her coffee mug. She doesn't drink coffee. Her chai tumbler in the sink. She just ran out of time. So I could get upset, but if I get a piece of information as to why, well, she might say, I like to leave it in the sink for a moment, just soaking, so it gets really clean because it was sitting in my locker all day. So I need it to soak. Okay, makes total sense. I no longer have, it's like, wow, that's really wise. So I have a very natural change of feelings. There's no violence. So that's detachment we like to connect to understanding. What do I need to understand so that the change, the letting go or the transforming into a different feeling happens very naturally. In terms of boundaries, the example I always use, and this is what we need to understand. Most people have boundaries on their house. It's called a lock. so, so they, a fence, a lock, whatever. So they lock their door. But what if the threat is locked inside with you? So you put up these boundaries for so-called other people or situations saying, that's threatening my integrity or my stage or my value, because we assume that that's where threat's coming from. But what if the threat is actually inside with me? I'm locked in there with it. And that is where the threat is, actually. That's what spirituality. I could put up as many boundaries as I want. I'm just locking it in there more deeply. When I can, again, understand the threat or the difficulty, the discomfort is actually in here with me, whether it's ego or fear or insecurity or doubt, discernment, it's in there with me. That kind of needs to be understood. So I'm not so obsessed with trying to lay the law down for things out there, but I spend a little bit more time trying to understand what's going on inside.
So it's interesting because why would there be? It's interesting you were mentioning about that wouldn't be affected, and it was when you talk about the connection between detachment and truth that allows there to be a sense of letting go. Because yesterday we had a session at the Inner Peace Center, and actually it was around the same aspect. Because the soul then asked, well, wouldn't there come a time wouldn't there come a time, I don't know if I made it worse. Wouldn't that come a time when I don't need to, and maybe you were just using a limited example, wouldn't there need to come a time when I don't need to know uh, the ins and outs of the details of what they're going through? I think is what the soul was asking. It's like, wouldn't I want to be able to just have this natural sense of being beyond whatever it is? I don't need to know their details. So what is there perhaps maybe I'm not sure what the purpose of his question was because we're running out of time. Um, so maybe he was saying, wouldn't that be quite limited? And maybe you were just using a limited example if you feel that more like a spiritual understanding plays is more relevant to his question.
Yes, it was a limited example, and I still need an understanding, but it's a very overarching understanding. Whatever is going on, what I need to understand is sorry. Okay, that could just be my own garbled voice. What I need to understand that will cover all possibilities, is that each and every one of us is a soul, intrinsically good, and we've completely disconnected with that capacity by forgetting that we are a soul. That's really all I need to understand for every single scenario. I don't need to know, well, this happened to them yesterday and their dog ate their homework and all of this. I just need to remember, yes, like me, they are souls. And like me, when I forget I'm a soul, then my true nature is distorted.
So I'm just wondering because sometimes we hear of the senior students, and it's quite amazing listening to their stories and their experiences. And when we hear firm, perhaps maybe what students are asking about, what does that feel like inside? Is it maybe just another word for it just feels so super clear, like who I am and whatever is happening is not has anything to do with me. But we hear firm and we have a lot of other ideas. But when you were connecting truth to detachment that allows that letting go, I was not sure if perhaps maybe in your own personal experience in your spiritual journey, if you've had that experience where you feel very firm inside about something. It's very clear, but it's like, wow, it's very peaceful. It's like, but I'm very, very clear, very firm, or whatever word you want to use, because sometimes students are like, I'm trying, but my old habits keep kicking in every time, like an addiction.
Sometimes we say firm, and it's like, am I trying to be firm with someone or firm about something? So, what am I being firm about? If I was to use a physical example, um, we always say that as alignment is to the body, awareness is to the soul. So, in physicality, we want to be firm about our alignment. In spirituality, we want to be firm about our awareness, very attentive to our awareness. So, if in the physical example, if I am not attentive to my alignment and I'm in an unstable surface, I'm not attentive, I will fall over. I will fall off balance. So similarly, spiritually, the only thing I want to be firm about is the truth. I want to be firm about my awareness that I am a spiritual being. This is what I want to be attentive to. And then everything else kind of sorts itself out around there. I just want to be very determined or attentive to maintaining my spiritual integrity without violence, just with attention. And attention really comes where there's love or respect. So out of respect and love for the self, we call it love for my stage or love for my potential. I want to pay attention to my alignment, my awareness.
So perhaps then on a deeper level, as you're saying, paying attention, would you feel that it's attention that I've actually accepted that though? Because sometimes we'll say, okay, I'm holding that thought. I'm trying to hold that thought. And, I can feel that other thoughts are getting in the way or other emotions. And again, what is happening in that attention?
So in some ways, we're back to those maternal qualities. While I'm on the journey, maybe what I discover I need to be firm about is, yes, developing complete faith that I'm on the right track. And then with that, patience. I need to be firm in being patient, not what's the word? Allowing things to go however they wish, but very patient. So those big qualities are so essential. The big four: faith is very important, courage, determination, and patience. So am I firm in my patience that I know I have these habits? I know I haven't maintained spiritual awareness for a very long time. I believe, I have faith that this is where I want to go, but I understand that it is a deep habit to do something else. So I will be patient. I will maintain my loyalty to that conviction that I feel this is the truth. But I know I understand that I'm dealing with quite a bit of resistance.
I'm not sure if you had a chance yesterday. I'm sure you did, but I wasn't able to stay on the session. So Peace Village is celebrating their 25 years. So there was another session for one of the senior students, Asha Didi, and it was quite interesting. She was sharing about, I'm not sure if she used the word firm, but she's quite clear in terms of the inner discipline. But she was sharing how others sensed it and felt it was too lawful. And I was thinking about Daddy Prakashmani. She would always share, it's about being lawful with yourself, but it's love for others. And so I'm not sure from her sharing, what is it then that's missing inside when she seemed very clear for herself and she seemed very comfortable in terms of being firm, in terms of that self-discipline. But whatever that was emanating to others was creating a sense of discomfort.
What she was actually sharing is she was disciplined with others, and they found it quite challenging. She was known to be very disciplined with others because, and she's right, that these disciplines are the way to move forward. What she was discovering is how was she sharing those principles, that maybe it's the sharing will be far more successful if there's first relationship, if there's first trust, if there's first communication, if there's understanding, if these qualities are in place. And this goes for the self as well. I need to have a good relationship with myself to be disciplined with myself. And usually that's lacking. So then souls have a very uncomfortable feeling around discipline. But those who have a good relationship with themselves, which we call self-respect, they embrace discipline. They know it's the way to move forward. So similarly, yes, it is her vision on others that she gives discipline. It is an expression of love, but for it to be received that way, I think she discovered there needs to be these other things going on. And I've definitely experienced that in her, if I'm with her and I can tell that she's thinking, I, I'm not sure this is a good idea, but I don't get any vibration of judgment. I still feel a lot of love, a lot of respect, maybe a little entertainment. But she's really discovered that again, that balance. And I liked how she said, because the eternal quality of the soul is not discipline. The eternal quality of the soul is love. So I need to be stable myself in that eternal quality in order to express that love through discipline.
I'm just going to sneak in a last question. And I know I'm so sorry if the voice is not clear. We've tried our best. We turned the speaker around so that it can reach the phone. You can always find us on BK Calgary on YouTube as well. I believe it's a lot more clear on there. So BK Calgary in YouTube. So last question in terms of being firm, I just find this so significant when you talked about if I don't have a relationship with myself, if I don't understand myself, then how can you really be firm about something? You had shared relatively recently that that self-respect was such an important thing for yourself, and that there was a realization one day that adding another layer was being able to respect others. And I was wondering if that realization helped you in terms of being firm about whatever it is about being firm, if it helped you to hold a promise of some sort because of understanding more deeply about what really matters to you.
I realize first that respect of others is the main thing for me. And the reason I was so focused on self respect, finally connecting, is that's the only way I can respect others. So, actually, the main objective is to respect others, to have really beautiful relationships with others, the only way. is to have a beautiful relationship with myself. That's the means to the end. So constantly keeping that objective in front, and where I aim is a beautiful relationship with myself. That's what I'd like to be disciplined on. So I need to definitely, want to nurture that potential, but with so much understanding. It always reminds me of an operation. You would know more, but it seems in order to keep it very clean and free of infection, you're constantly flooding the operating site with water, to sterilize. I feel that's really critical on this journey, being very firm to keep things clean and sincere and nonviolent, really honorable relationship. I have to keep flooding it with the water of understanding, keep flooding it. And it's very helpful if you want to be firm about something, very helpful if you have a daily discipline of exposing yourself to spiritual wisdom. That really helps us to keep on track.
Sounds like consistency helps with being firm in a non-violent way. So we will have a little reflection.
For the sake of the self, just to be at peace with the self, I embrace a path, a spiritual path that truly honors the value of the self. And that path will require I be patient, constantly forgiving towards the self, deepening my understanding of the self and how I work. And yes, disciplined. Maintaining those practices and principles that protect my spiritual journey. I know it is good every once in a while to sit quietly with the self, revisit, revise, reflect on what aspects I need to remain very loyal or firm on towards the self in this spiritual journey. And being firm to keep things very, very simple. To stick to the point. This is what I want to be most firm on. To stick to the point. To not stray from the seed of value. That point is awareness I am a soul, a child of God, destined to restore my intrinsic goodness. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Judy. Thank you for those joining online with us. So just wanting to inform you that the next Raj Yoga full course in Hindi is happening on the 14th, 15th, 21st, 22nd. So it's over 2 weekends from 12 o'clock to 3:30. And then there is also the Raja Yoga Foundations in English, and the next course is happening in October. So they have now switched from Wednesdays to Fridays, and the intention is that souls who are used to coming to the Foundations course, they'll be accustomed to the drop-in meditation session that happens at the same time at the Inner Peace Center. We also have the Learn About Meditation session at the Academy, and that will be happening on International Day of Peace on September 21st. And I believe it's at 12:15 to 1:30. And so we have a lot of online sessions such as this. Most of the other ones are drop-in meditation. You can find us on BK Calgary YouTube. You can also visit the Calgary Center's website, calgary.brahmakumaris.ca, to find other sessions, also on Eventbrite as well. So thank you for joining with us. Om Shanti.